Section 7, Taxis. 7A, About licensed taxis. All taxis should have licence plates shown. These will be on the front, back and side of the taxi. The colour of the licence plate shows what type of taxi it is. Never use a taxi that does not have a licence plate. A licensed taxi driver must have an ID badge showing their photograph and badge number. These are examples of a taxi driver's badge. Do not use a taxi if the driver does not have one. Please see page 58 of the standard print version for photos of example taxi driver IDs. 7B. When using a taxi. Always sit in the back of the taxi. If you want to chat, keep it to things like the weather. Always wear your seatbelt. Fares. Some taxis use taxi meters to work out the fare. It is a good idea to check what the minimum fare is and make sure the taxi meter shows this amount before you set off. You should not be charged more than it is shown on the taxi meter. If the taxi does not have a taxi meter, ask the driver how much they think the fare will be. Get the money ready when you get near where you are going. Remember, when you book a taxi, tell them what time you want the taxi. Say where you are and where you want to go. Ask how much the fare will be. 7C. Taxis with yellow plates. In Belfast, a public hire taxi will have yellow licence plates and may look like this. Please see page 61 of the standard print version for a picture. A yellow licence plate means that you can stop a taxi in the street. Hold your arm out to let the driver know you want them to stop while you are standing in a safe place on the footpath. You can also get a taxi like this from a taxi rank. These taxis are wheelchair accessible and must have a taxi meter. You don't have to phone up and book. 7D. Taxis with white plates. Outside Belfast, a public hire taxi will usually look like a normal car, but it must have white taxi licence plates. A white licence plate means that the taxi can be booked before you travel, or you can stop a taxi in the street by holding out your arm. These taxis can only be hailed outside Belfast and do not have to be wheelchair accessible or have a taxi meter. 7E. Taxis with green plates. A private hire taxi usually looks like a normal car, but it must have a green licence plate. You cannot stop these taxis in the street. You must phone up and book the taxi or call in at a taxi depot. These taxis are not required to be wheelchair accessible or have a taxi meter. Ask friends and family if they can tell you about a good taxi company that they use. Remember, always carry the number of a taxi company when you go out. 7F. Taxis with white and blue plates. Taxi buses look like this and have white and blue taxi licence plates. Please see page 64 of the standard print version for pictures. They work like buses on some routes, picking up and leaving off passengers at bus stops or on demand. You'll be charged a set fare for your journey and you may have to share the taxi with other people. These taxis are not required to have a taxi meter but are wheelchair accessible.